So in 2017, I had actually lost almost 100 pounds. And I had gotten to a plateau where no matter how much I worked out, how much I didn't eat, I stopped losing weight. And then I also simultaneously always had abdominal pain. I was constipated, and I wasn't using the bathroom. So I translated the lack of weight loss and everything that was occurring during that journey with having digestive issues and constipation, and that really being the reason why some of the things were happening with my body. I would go around and tell people, like, I have digestive issues, because I would go weeks without using the bathroom. At the same time, I had really heavy periods, so I experienced bloating. And the funny thing is, I was taking laxatives all the time. I tried every brand. I would do all these things to kind of relieve, and nothing worked. So I knew there was something more to it than that. But I was suffering in silence. Like I was dealing with severe abdominal pain. I was dealing with the constipation. I was dealing where some days it was difficult to get out of bed. I ultimately came to a breaking point. I think as Black women, we're taught you just have to keep going. You have to just keep going, keep your chin up, and do what you need to do. I was in Las Vegas with a group of friends, and I started not to feel well. Like it was like it just washed over me. And they went to brunch, and I said, I'm just gonna lay down for a bit. I'm not really feeling well. And I had stomach pain, and it continuously increased to the point that it was excruciating pain, and I was curled on the floor and I couldn't move. And I had to call my friend back. I said, there's something wrong with me. I have to go to the hospital. And security had to come up. They had to carry me downstairs. Next thing you know, I'm laying in an emergency room bed in the hospital in Las Vegas, not near family, not near friends, and I have no clue what's wrong with me. And they're doing a number of tests, and I'm there for hours. And they come back and they tell me that I have fibroids. And I had never heard of fibroids. They explain to me what it is, and then they tell you it's a benign tumor. And you hear the word tumor, and you think that there's something very wrong with you. And they explain it's a benign tumor, it's in my uterus, and that when I go home, I have to do further tests. Because not only did I have one of them, they told me I had multiple. And that was me discovering that I had fibroids. I go back to New York. I go to the gynecologist, and I go to the first gynecologist. I had never heard of fibroids, so there was a lack of understanding of how serious it was, what my treatment options were, and what the next steps were progressing in life. Because I never wanted to get back to that moment that I felt when I was in Las Vegas. And I knew it could potentially happen again, because I had asked that doctor in Las Vegas. She said, you have to take care of this because this could happen. So I go to the first doctor, and my pain was kind of dismissed, like it was kind of brushed away. And I'm talking about extreme, excruciating pain, and a doctor is dismissing. I go to doctor number 2. The doctor tells me the same things, but you have to have a hysterectomy. You don't want to be in pain, you have to have a hysterectomy. And now I'm hearing a word, and I'm like, I'm 30. I have to have a hysterectomy, and I'm 30 years old. There has got to be another option. It was either pain or you're never having children, with no in between. I said, I'm gonna get another opinion. And I continued on throughout that journey, and feeling unseen and unheard as a Black woman navigating the healthcare system and the healthcare space. And I think we often hear those stories about Black women and their pains being dismissed, but I lived it. And which is ultimately why I created HUED. I wanted to create a platform in a space for people who looked like me to be their own advocate within the healthcare space, and go to doctors who were culturally competent and did not ignore or dismiss their pain when they're dealing with something that is life-altering and life-changing. Oftentimes, unfortunately, being Black or Latino or being categorized in different cultural scenarios, our care and our treatment tends to be worse. Our healthcare system, because our healthcare system is not unlike any other system that we have in this country. Following a global pandemic, when we think about marginalized populations that were disproportionately impacted by it, and it's not just COVID-19, it is maternal health, it's fibroids, it's all of these things. And as I got on my fibroid journey and understanding how fibroids impact fertility, really understanding my options for having children and how fibroids impact that, I wanted to provide education and resources and options for Black women who are also going through the same journey. Because oftentimes we don't know what our fertility levels are until we're trying to have kids. And by that point, when you're family planning, it could be too late. You could start thinking about this in your 20s so that you understand your options for later on in life. And with fertility tests, they can cost upwards of $500. Access to care for all, $500 is not a cheap amount of money to understand your fertility levels and to get a fertility test. So during Black Maternal Health Week in New York, it takes place every April, we offered free fertility testing for Black women in partnership with a fertility clinic. HUED is a healthcare engagement solution tailored to address the needs of Black and Latino populations, specifically by connecting them to culturally competent healthcare providers and culturally informed healthcare resources and services. Having more fibroid awareness, specifically for Black women, when we think about 80 to 90% of Black women experiencing fibroids by the time they turn 50, it impacts almost every one of us. And unfortunately, there are not enough resources for us to really understand our options. And when there is a lack of resources, unfortunately, we are letting doctors make decisions for us without understanding the implications and the complications that could be a result of those options. So for women to have fibroid resource, and not even just Black women, for women to have more resources around fibroids and their understanding about their body and their uterus and how all of it impacts us, because it impacts our day-to-day life. I think it's extremely important, and I think that there needs to be more resources and more conversations, right? I think changing perception and behavior and understanding of fibroids really starts with conversations. When I found out I had fibroids, I started to talk to people, and everybody had fibroids, but we never talked about having fibroids. And I think even just starting there within our personal spaces and within our personal networks and friend groups, and providing resources and literature and literacy so that everybody has a deeper understanding of what it is and what their options are before they make any decisions out of desperation or because they want to change their lives.